Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kev Smith, and I'm a development worker at the Dundee Carers Centre. So today I'm joined by Alex McClintock. Hi, Alex.
All right, mate.
So Alex is a project development champion at Andy's Man Club, which is a charity which seeks to support men and offer them a safe, non-judgmental environment to talk. It is worth saying that some of the topics addressed in the presentation, such as suicide, may be distressing or upsetting to some viewers. But as we'll hear from Alex, these unfortunately are topics which have never been more relevant, and hopefully the message that Alex and Andy's Man Club are carrying into today and sharing with us are hopeful ones. So Alex, do you want to tell us a little bit about what the Man Club is and how it got started?
Yeah. So Andy's Man Club started in 2016 in Halifax after a young man, Andy Roberts, took his own life by suicide. And as you can imagine, it left his family completely devastated. And his mum Elaine and his brother-in-law Luke wanted to do something and give the guys in Halifax initially a safe space to come together and talk about their weeks and get stuff off their chest. And then it's kind of grown from there. So one club then quickly became 2 and 3 clubs round across Yorkshire. And then in 2017, myself and my colleague in the Scottish Prison Service got involved, got in touch with them about bringing it up to Scotland as a project for work. And we actually launched our first meeting of Andy's Man Club in Scotland in HMP Perth on the 4th of September 2017. And then obviously opened the community group in Perth a fortnight later, and then it's kind of snowballed for there. So I now look after 19 clubs across Scotland and one just across the border in Berwick-upon-Tweed as well. So we've got really big over the last few years. And it is averaging about 1,700 guys coming together on a Monday night to have a chat over a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and we run through a couple of set questions that are the same every week. Which are just designed to get guys talking and open up and share experiences. You know what I mean? We don't have to be suffering from mental health issues. You don't have to have suicidal thoughts. You may just want somebody to go, get out of the house for a couple of hours and just get a chat with like-minded men.
Fantastic. So is it the case that sort of having that just informal space to just initially kick things off and just have a chat is really the way that you begin things?
Yeah, so we sit in a circle and we've got our own version of the talking stick, which is a foam football. I've got one here. So it's like a big stress ball. And when you've got that ball, it's your turn to talk as little or as much as you want. And there's never any pressure to share. Do you know what I mean? We run through the questions, as I say, but if you don't want to answer a particular question, you can just pass the ball on and no one will think any different of you because we've all been there. Do you know what I mean? We're all there for the same reasons. We're all there because we've maybe struggled with some of the stuff that's going on in our lives. We've struggled with mental health in the past. So we all know what it's like to walk through the door because it's the hardest step that a man's going to take is that first step through the door. But hopefully after that, it gets a lot easier. And once he finds out that he's not on his own and he's not the only one that's been going through what he's been going through, and he's part of this brotherhood that is Andy's Man Club, as you say, 1,700 men every Monday night across the country, 89 groups across the country, plus online as well. So it's not just face-to-face. We've got the online option as well for people to get involved in if they can't get out of the house or don't have a club near them.
And I'd imagine that the online stuff was really helpful during lockdown, during the stages when you weren't able to meet as a group.
Yeah, well, that's how it came about. So, like everyone, we get closed down. So we missed one Monday night. Was the very first night that the country closed because of COVID. We actually had to close all our venues across the country. We had 28 at the time, and we were averaging about 900 men a week. Within a week, the office had us on Google Meets, and we were using that every Monday night. So each group across the country had their own online meeting. So it was the guys that we're used to seeing on a Monday night were online in that session. And then obviously we had new guys coming through each week that would come to the newbie session that we were running. And we were averaging about 20 new guys a week, all coming with the same sort of things. Do you know what I mean? Like through COVID, like we all did, we were all stuck in the house. We're stuck in an environment that we weren't used to being in the house 24/7 with our partners, our family, because we used to get out to work, to the gym and escape. And you only seen them for a couple of hours a day, and then all of a sudden you were 24/7. And it was just like, wow, I couldn't cope with this. So we had lots of guys coming with relationship issues and obviously financial issues because of COVID and getting furloughed and paid off and stuff like that. So, but it certainly allowed us to grow through COVID as an organisation. So we've gone from having 2.5 members of staff to now having 8 members of staff right across the country. And as I say, we've gone from having 28 groups to having 89 now, with more on their way. So the 100 mark's not too far off.
Fantastic. And I'd imagine that there maybe be guys who were maybe from areas that didn't have a group that was local to them, that were able to sort of access the groups, through the online service.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we've grown. So the one I always use is we had 6 guys tuning in from Glasgow, and we never had a group in Glasgow. So as soon as we were allowed to open groups, I went and opened one in Glasgow. And we've got 15, 16 guys turning up every Monday now. So, and all the other PDCs like myself, there's 4 of us, we're all in similar positions, that we just used the online stuff to see where we needed to get groups open, because we're a concentration of guys.
Fantastic. I wonder, as far as, guys haven't taken that first step that you talked about earlier on, just kind of showing up at the door and walking through it, I suppose, who are considering it. Have you any sort of advice on or any sort of notions from yourself and your own experiences of guys coming down, as far as making that first step, or what might be helpful?
Well, we try and make it as easy as possible. So we've got facilitators outside the doors, try to encourage guys through and make it a wee bit easier. So we're not just firing them into a room and leaving them alone. The guys will come in, put them at ease, tell them what's going on, get them a cup of tea and that, and get them a seat. So we know it's the hardest step to take. But once you take it, it's an amazing feeling to get into that room and see what goes on. We've always tried in the past that to get guys through the door, but you can't force someone through. They've got to be ready. It's like anything. Do you know what I mean? Whether you're recovering from mental health or addiction issues or anything like that, you've got to be ready to seek help and change. So we'll do what we can to try and get guys through the door, and doing things like this. Do you know what I mean? Coming out and doing presentations, driving about in a car covered in Andy's Man Club stickers, all these things, everything we do is to try and get that one guy through the door.
Yeah, and I sort of had a look, and there's plenty of material up on your social media and your Facebook, and got quite an active website by the looks of it. Where there's almost videos and testimonials and stories about guys who have engaged with the Man Club.
Yeah, and I think social media has been good for us. So I mean, there's 2 sides to everything. Social media can be really negative and impact people's mental health. We try to keep up with their friends lists and filters and stuff like that. But the positive side for us is, if it wasn't for Facebook, we wouldn't have had more than one club, because we'd have still been in Halifax with that one group. But because we can get out and shout about what we're doing, it then grows. And that's how we've kind of managed to get so many groups, because of our positive stuff on Facebook. Do you know what I mean? We're always shouting about what we're doing. Again, that's purely just to get that one man through the door. Do you know what I mean? We shout about numbers every week, not to say, look at us, we've got 1,700 men. It's for that guy that's sitting watching, going, I wonder if I could go, and then sees that 1,700 guys can do it, so I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of that feeling of being part of a community. Being part of a wider thing, yeah.
Yeah, and Andy's mum Elaine, she says it in one of the videos, that it's a brotherhood. Do you know what I mean? That's the only way to describe it. I remember my first meeting. We were still working in the prison service, went down to Halifax in April 17, and I came back to try and tell my boss what it was all about, and I couldn't put it in words. I just couldn't put in what it was like sitting in that meeting, hearing all these guys sharing so many powerful things, and then getting the ball and sharing my own story. Do you know what I mean? I'd never ever shared my story about my struggles with mental health and a failed suicide attempt. But as soon as I got the ball, I just blurted everything out. And it was such a relief. Do you know what I mean? But try to put that into words to convince your boss that it's going to be a worthwhile project for work was really difficult. And it wasn't until we got it up and running and he actually came and sat in one of the meetings that he understood what it meant. And that's the only way we can do it. It's like we can tell you all about it, we can run through the questions, we can tell you what's talked about, but until you actually walk in and experience it for yourself, we just can't really put it into words.
Yeah, absolutely. On the face of it, it's a simple idea. Let's get together and let's talk, and let's have a cup of tea, and let's, whether it's chat about informal things, but also sort of chat about things that might conventionally be quite difficult for men to talk about. I mean, I wonder whether, it's the great elephant in the room, isn't it? The stigma that surrounds mental health, but particularly male mental health. And obviously we're all we see it regularly, suicide rates in young men and men generally being addressed.
Well,
seems like
Yeah, 75% of all suicides in the UK are men. Do you know what I mean? It's a scary stat. It's like 84 men a week die by suicide, which is far too many. Do you know what I mean? We want to get that down to zero. Do you know what I mean? That's our ultimate goal, is to reduce the figures right down to zero. The stigmas that are out there, do you know what I mean? I talk about it all the time. Like, we're always told to man up, shake it off. Big boys don't cry. Do you know what I mean? I was brought up that if you're going to cry about something, go and see your mum. But Dad's not interested. Do you know what I mean? And that's the way he was brought up, and that's the way I was brought up. And it's like, it's all wrong now. Do you know what I mean? We've got to challenge these stigmas, because it's killing guys. Do you know what I mean? If you man up, you got a man down. Do you know what I mean? It's as simple as that. We've got to get out there and talk about these things. We've got to normalise the conversation around mental health and suicide, like you said at the intro. Do you know what I mean? It's something that it doesn't get talked about in the press, because there's rules and whatnot in there, which is it's there for a reason. Do you know what I mean? It's there to protect people, but there's that many people coming out now and like big names. So I don't know if you've seen the Roman Kemp documentary through COVID, and it was the first time that someone's been on TV in the UK taking antidepressants, which is quite scary. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a really high population in the UK are on antidepressants, but it's never been in EastEnders, never been Coronation Street. It's been nothing like that. They've talked about the impacts of mental health and suicide on these programs, but they've never actually had anyone taking medication on them. So I mean, it's just that blew me away. You know what I mean? To see someone sitting there talking about losing his pal to suicide, and that he's struggled and had to go on antidepressants, and he's actually sitting there on the telly taking them.
Yeah. And it's there, isn't it? It's everywhere, kind of around it.
It's one of these things. I always say that, and then we've done a lot in schools with younger kids and teenagers and that. And I always say, hands up if you've got mental health. And there's only one or two of them put their hands up. But if you ask them if they've got physical health, they'll all put their hands up. But and people don't. So I was talking to Claire before we came on. It's like, until it affects you, you don't know it's there, eh? And I gave a talk yesterday to guys in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they were all blown away by it. But when I asked that, it's like, no, my mental health, I don't have mental health, I'm fine. Do you know what I mean? Well, no, your mental health's fine because you're in a good place, but you still have mental health, whether it's good or bad. Do you know what I mean? And it's trying to educate people as well, isn't it? It's the more we talk about these things, the more that social media stars and TikTok and Facebook and whatever start talking about mental health and putting it out there that it's okay not to be okay sometimes. Do you know what I mean? We all struggle with life, especially everything that we've gone through the last 2 years. Do you know what I mean? It's been horrendous for a lot of people, myself included. And it's we've come out the other side. Do you know what I mean? Because one of my favourite quotes is that a storm always runs out the rain. I mean, so it's going to get better eventually. The sun will come out as soon as the rain stops. So we've just got to keep going.
Absolutely, and reach out.
Definitely reach out. So I mean, it's one of these. We do a lot with Dundee Angus College, and it's speaking to young lads in the STEM classes, and it's like I do these things. I'm not here to get you to come to Andy's Man Club. I'm just, if you're struggling, reach out. If you see your pal struggling, reach out. So I mean, because if you ask him, "Are you okay?" 9 times out of 10, if you ask him again, he'll tell you what's going on. Do you know what I mean? But if you just ask him and just go, do you know, I'm all right, and then leave it at that, he'll not tell you. But if you push him a wee bit, the chances are he'll reach out and talk about what he's going through.
Absolutely, Alex. And I think we talked about this previously. You know, it's not something just that a service like Andy's Man Club, you know, that's specifically addressing mental health or allowing men to talk. I think it's something that all services, all charities, all the NHS itself, you know, they will see that at least I see anecdotally in my job that men are often more hesitant to take that step forward and to talk. And obviously, what I would say is another message from this is that if you're a man and you're a carer and you're thinking, you know, I might just benefit from that informal conversation, I might just benefit from having a chat with somebody, you will never be judged. You're not tying yourself into something. You know, pick up the phone, send us a message, have a chat about that, and then I suppose we can all work together as the fabric of something a bit wider, can't we? Where we're proactively getting with these things as opposed to reactively addressing these things.
Yeah, and it's something I've shouted about for 5 years now. I can't do what we can do to reduce the figures as Andy's Man Club. We've got to work collaboratively. You know? We've got to engage other organisations, because at the end of the day, there's so many organisations out there all trying to achieve the same thing. And I know, like in the past, it's all about funding and stuff like that, and people protect what they've got. But people are still dying. Do you know what I mean? We need to work together. We need to get the message out there that it's okay to reach out and talk. Do you know what I mean? And like so, I've got a couple of guys from Dunfermline who have caring responsibilities as well, and the only respite they sometimes get is a Monday night coming to the group. Do you know what I mean? And it must be hard. Do you know what I mean? So if anyone is out there struggling, just reach out, drop us a message on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Do you know what I mean? There's as I say, we've got a team of 8. That we're across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and someone will get back to you, someone will support you, someone will tell you where your nearest club is, and try and get you through the door and get a wee bit of help. And whether it's a virtual door online or one of our 2 venues in Dundee as well, do you know what I mean? Come along, give us a try. What's the worst that could happen? You get a free cup of tea and a biscuit. Do you know what I mean? If you don't like it, you don't like it. It's cool. Do you know what I mean? At least you've tried it. You've not lost anything by giving up 2 hours one Monday night.
And you'd said, there is no pressure to talk. You are not going to be forced to share your own story as soon as you walk through that door.
And I talk about one of my facilitators in Perth. He came to us for about 6 weeks before he took his headphones off and actually told us his name. He just sat there with his headphones on, staring at the floor for weeks and weeks and weeks. And he was actually one of our first facilitators that we asked to step up in Perth. And he's still smashing it 3.5 years later. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of these ones we've had it quite a lot. Guys will come and say, I'm not going to say anything this week, but if I like it and I come back, I'll speak next week. But see, the minute you get that, you just open up and talk because you've seen other guys doing it and you're like, well, if they can do it, I can do it.
Fantastic. So I suppose with the message you're carrying and all you've said, as far as in Dundee, where are the sort of the groups themselves?
So we've got 2. We've got one in the Boomerang Centre on Kenback Street,
okay.
And then the other one's in the Change Centre, which is the new street soccer building. So it's the old lunch sports centre at the bottom of Kingsway, just off at Kingsway at 9 Wells. So we're in there every Monday, 7 till 9. We're also in Arbroath as well. And as I say, we're always looking for new venues and new clubs. So I've got 19 right across the country, as I said, and always looking to open more. So I think I've got another 3 on my board to get launched as well. So that'll take us up to 22. So we're getting there. We want 1,300 clubs in the UK. So we're within 30 minutes of every man in the UK, and in that way they don't have an excuse not to come because there's one pretty much on their doorstep.
A great message, and I suppose indicative of the need that's there at this unfortunately at this current time. Yeah.
Unfortunately, there is. Do you know what I mean? And that's a sad state. As I say, our ultimate goals do not exist because guys are having these conversations in everyday walks of life, and they don't need to come to us on a Monday night. So our ultimate goal is to have 0 guys on a Monday.
A great message to have. I think as far as, is there anything else? Is there a prevailing message that you think that is really important to finish this off with? Or
I just think for me, certainly when I was going through what I was going through, I didn't want to be a burden to my friends and family. I didn't want to appear weak in front of my mates. But I think in hindsight and doing what I've done for the last 5 years now, it takes a bigger man to open up and show emotion and reach out and ask for help. So if there is anyone out there struggling, please just drop us a message, come along and get a cuppa on a Monday night, 7 till 9. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's a group of guys that have all been in similar situations as whatever you guys are going through. And no matter what you're going through, we can get through it together, and we can come out the other side.
Here, Alex. Brilliant. Fantastic. So as far as getting in touch with Andy's Man Club, just through Facebook?
So every group's got a Facebook page, so you can drop us a wee message in there. The only ones we message are the main Andy's Man Club page and the Andy's Man Club Scotland page. And obviously we're on Twitter and Instagram as well, so you can message through those mediums as well. Or you can just get in touch via email, info@andysmanclub.co.uk. And then the office will reply or filter it through to myself anyway, and we'll get back in touch.
Absolutely. Perfect. Thank you very much, Alex. I really appreciate you spending the time with me.
Thanks for the time. Right. Cheers, mate.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.